So this is like part of the basics, the fundamental syntax that we talked about in the last lecture. Now, if we just step ahead, we'll see this HTML basics empty element and standard element, and we know we're up for more. Let us go back again and look at this one. It had an opening tag and an ending tag. Yep, it did. And then we go to this one. And it says, well, this one has an opening tag and it says section. And it's an ending tag. Well, ending, we know that because it's /. So what is this one? Meta. It's an empty element. It is an element that, it doesn't have any content outside of it, or it isn't, encircling any content. It does provide value though, and it can provide content. So it's confusing that way, but we'll shortly see what I mean about it. And elements, they define specific content starts and ends, and some also describe the content's function. Most elements consist of two tags. Some have only one, referred to as empty elements. That is what this page says. And that was I said. And we'll get into that very, very soon. But first, we need to talk about one extra thing here. Navigation, A, image, UL, LEA. Okay. There are different elements. We have opening, we have closing image tags. We don't have it on this image for some reason. Still, it looks like that. This one has an opening and ending. There's something else. They're in a specific structure, you see? If you look really, really closely to this, you see the nav starts here and it ends down here and everything is inside of it. The UL starts here and it ends here and everything of those things are inside of it. That's called nestling. And that's what HTML is about. It's actually not always just saying something about its content. It's saying something about the structure, the hierarchy of everything. And if you look at Word, it's the same thing. You don't put a heading 1 inside somewhere in the middle of the document. You usually have it in the start because heading 1 is the one you start the document with, and then you start the next kind of larger sections are heading 2s, and then inside of that you have maybe a heading 3s and heading 4s inside of them. So there's like a hierarchy of things. And it's the same here. There's a hierarchy. So I'm actually saying something about everything inside of here. I'm saying nav. What does it say? Nav stands for navigation. It says that, well, what you have inside here are navigational links, things that will take us somewhere on the website or even on the web page, but that's what it does. And then see, we have a tag up here, and then we have UL down here. This is not a nav, but these are the core functionality and the very purpose of this nav is saying that the things that I have inside, that's navigational links. And then the next thing says, inside of me, that structure, it does not control that structure. It just said there are navigational links inside of me, and that's the purpose of the things that are in here. Now I can structure these things inside here in different ways. The first one here is, for some reason, we have a logo. For some reason, I say that, but it's kind of common that you probably see a logo on a web page to the left, right? In the menu where you're go into a web page, you see this logo to the left. It's quite common. And when you click on that logo, you come to the home page. It is also very common. So you could have written hyperreference into the link here. It would go to the home page. And title, it could say go to home page. And then you click on the link. Yeah, but what is that link? There is no content. No, there's an image. And the image is the company logo type. And now you can see the image. How can I ever write text inside that image out here? It's not how you get the image out there, you got to go using the attribute source, and that has to find the image somewhere, and then it puts this changes out. The whole element gets replaced by this image. So that's why we don't need any content inside of it, because this very element is looking to be replaced by content. And then we have the closing of this link saying that this is going to be what you're clicking on to go to that part. And then you have the UL. It says unordered list. It means that these list items, these are list items exactly. LI stands for list items. And if you wrote this in Word, unordered list would be the dotted one, with dots, not the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's the OL, the ordered list. So UL, it stands for unordered list. And unordered list, why do I use that? Well, there is no specific order to my links, maybe. There's just going to be a couple of navigation on which one you want to use in which order. I don't care. I might care, but in this case, I didn't. So I'm saying it's an unordered list. I'm giving semantic value here because I'm not ranking them. Not ranking them is saying a lot as well. And then we have the A tags again and the hyperreference, and they lead nowhere. There's a hashtag right now, which is common practice to put a hashtag there whenever you don't want to go anywhere because you haven't put a correct link in there yet. It's just a placeholder, so to speak. Then go to placeholder, and then somewhere. So that's the content in here. That's the only text we ever see. Wonderful, right? That's the next thing. You see, the A tag is in the list item, which is in the UL. So it's all these things are about hierarchy, and the hierarchy is there to tell something extra about the content. It's not just a link. It's a link in a list. So they're related. It's a list of links. And those list of links are part of the website's navigation. So there's a lot of semantics in there. Now let's go into that good night. No, not that good night. That's not what you say. I'm going to go over here first, I think, before I step into the next page over there. So you go. So we have, I want to, separate the kind of attributes. We just talked about it a bit earlier, but we have these general attributes that describe things. So we have the one down here. And then we have identifying attributes that pinpoint specifics. So we have general attributes that describe things like source or alt. They are describing things like this image, for example. You can see that this says source. It describes a path, right? A path. It will go into the folder called images, and we'll go into that folder, and I would look for the logotype.svg. A file called so. And then alt, it's an alternative. So if this source doesn't exist, or if the web browser or the user has a slow connection or something, and it can't download the image for some reason, well, it won't be empty. There will be text there explaining what would have been there. And that's company logotype. And what else? If you have a visibility, a disability to your vision, a visual disability, then you would, sometimes you can't really see the image. You would need to have it be explained to you. And then this alt text would be used for that. So this is actually a mandatory thing. You can't, decide not to use alt. You have to use alternative because you always have to describe the image. So you are making the web page accessible for people that cannot see. And there are a lot of things that you should be mandatory to do, but it isn't, but alt is. So now class, this is different. There's a 2 down there. So why? It's identifying attributes. It helps us identify this image. If you have 1,000 images and you want to say that this one has some kind of CSS. CSS, we use it for making changes to the visuals. So we don't say something semantic using CSS. We are changing sizes, colors, placement, a lot of things. But if we want to really select all the things that are logotypes, but not all the images, we can give all the logotypes the class logotype. And then we can, with CSS, only select things that are logotypes. It's identifying the element for us. This is really, really good. It's neat. It's nice. And to really explain this further, I think we need to step ahead and look at the Visual Studio Code. And I think I'll also expand this one. Good. Go back here, and I think I'm going to zoom in so we can actually see what's going on here. Dalarna University, we have the same kind of thing we had earlier. And now we're ready to step over these. So first, I'll actually go ahead and zoom up a bit so we can really talk about it. So all of this, what is it? I have the doctype.html. For heaven's sake, I remember the time where I didn't have to write this. I had to write something extremely long because I used HTML4 or XHTML, or even when I used HTML2. It was not as easy to declare this then, but this is a declaration. It is. I don't want it to be confused by being an element or a tag, but it's not a natural element or tag. It's saying what kind of document type this is, because even though we have said index.html and we can know for sure it's going to be an HTML file because it says so. We gave it file ending HTML. Now the web browser doesn't really account for that. It actually downloads not only the file, it downloads the content. It's really going to look through this content inside it. So first thing we want to do is declare what kind of content it's going to be. And it's going to be HTML. And now we can declare it differently because I'm saying HTML5. It's because that's what we use today, but it hasn't always been the case. So we could declare different things here. Now we don't want to do that. We definitely want to use HTML5, but the declaration, however you find it unnecessary to use or so, it is really mandatory. You really have to have this for the web browser to know which kind of HTML you're writing. So do use this. It's not hard. It is just this kind of syntax. That's the whole thing. Declares what kind of document it is. And then we have something here that says HTML and HTML with an ending tag. So this whole thing is the element HTML. And it's basically everything. But it's also where the document starts. So we are going to see HTML in this file. And this is where this element starts, and this is where it ends. So everything you ever write in HTML will be inside of this tag. And if I collapse these two just by clicking out here, you can see them easier. You can see that what is exactly within the HTML tag? Well, two standard things that always will be there. We have the head and we have the body. You can see this thing as the separation we use to understand the document and for a web browser to understand the document. And the main difference between these two is that the head, it gives us information about the document. And the body, it's the content. It's what the user sees. It's the web page. So if you go into here, to head, you see this tag called meta. We saw it earlier. It stands for metadata. Metadata, information about the document. So usually say metadata, it's information about that data. And this is really it. It says we're using the charset UTF-8. You don't have to delve into what that is, but it's mandatory for us for the whole document to use. You can use different ones, of course, if there's a choice. Uh, of course, there are going to be different alternatives. But whenever you write in the future, I'm quite sure that you'll never use anything else than UTF-8. So we don't have to delve into that right now. Then I have the meta, name, viewport, content, width, device, initial scale 1.0. I think you'll always keep this the same as well. But what it does, it makes it, imagine this. And I think some of you might have encountered this thing, even though I hope it would be a thing of the past. But some users that create web pages, or some developers that create web pages, they shouldn't be developers, but they make this error anyway. If you go into a web page and for some reason, when you use your phone and go into the web page, it doesn't, it's still like you're on a desktop. Everything is so zoomed out and everything is so small. You have to like pinch and zoom in and click on the links and, and you really get bugged out. You say like, who's the loser who did it? Probably what it did, it didn't put this one in. It makes it possible for us to scale to the device we're using. So it scales toward the mobile phone, the iPad, or whatever. It's really a big part of responsive web design. One can say that it's like it is mandatory, and if you remove it, I see of no reason why you ever would. But and then you have the title. Well, the document has to have a title. We cannot just give this, remove this. So whatever, if you want to title it nothing, you can title it nothing, but you have to have a title, like you. So the web browser that knows what kind of web page this is. I haven't talked about this one, but of course, some of you have already noted it and says, like, what is this lang thing? It's language. So I could go here and do this. It says English, Great Britain. So it's going to be English, the version you're using in Great Britain, which is not the same as US because you spell things differently and you pronounce things differently. If you have a screen reader that's going to read the text to you, you might want to have it read in the Great British if you want to. I mean, it could have minute, changes. If you want to go Swedish, you could go with this. Yeah, I think there is a version where you have like Swedish Finnish or something like that. But I usually use this one if I ever use for Swedish. But let's go into this one, English, Great Britain, or I'll remove this one just to keep it very simple. Then go body. So body, that's where you'll probably be most of the time, typing HTML. Of course, you're going to add a couple of more metadata and stuff like that of your own, but and links and so on. But most of the time, you'll be in body. Body is the things you see on the web page. So let's go ahead and I'll think we'll go ahead and give this, take this code we had earlier, can select it. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And then we take this code. Let's put it here. Just after this thing, let's give this a heading 1 as well, so we can just start with it. Perfect. Okay, that's good. So we have Dali University, we create our path, and then we have the company logo type, which doesn't occur because we don't have that file yet. And for some reason, I get this VT thing. I don't know why. And I don't get the right quotation marks. Please be sure to get the right ones. I don't know why I didn't. I think I put in the wrong ones in PowerPoint. Here you go. I'll zoom out so I can see what I'm doing actually. And it says I have no description text in here because of accessibility. Let's not talk about that right now. It's another part. But look at this. I'm gonna right click and format the document. It looks like this now. Easier. You can see the nesting. You can collapse it. You can see a nav contains all of that. A contains all of that. UL contains all of that. Really neat. I'm saving it, and you see that I don't see the image because the image, it doesn't exist here. And if we had an image existing here, it would be located inside a folder called EMG. And that image would be in here and in this folder named logotype.svg. If we had one, it would show. I don't know if we have one available, maybe. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll do that. We'll do it. Reveal it in File Explorer, and I'm going to go to desktop. I'm going to create graphic manuals. I'm going to download University. I'm going to take some kind of logotype SVG thingy. Horizontal. It's Swedish. Weird. Yeah, I take the Swedish one. Doesn't matter. Take the Swedish one, and I'm going to go back to wherever I was. I was here, and I was in a thing called HTML Basics, I think. It's somewhere. Was I not? I have it at least. I can go reveal in File Explorer again. Yeah, I was there. I was in Alexander. Okay, cool. See, I don't know where I am. And now we can just rename this one logo type.svg. So now I have the SVG. Wow, look out here. It popped out. Like, Högskolan Dalarna, this logo type. It just popped up there. Because now it found it. And if I change the name here, it's not going to find it. It's going to say company logo type because there is no thing called SVG. SV. Just SVG in there. So, cool. And then these things, they are links to somewhere. Now, we don't have anything in there, so they don't function. But you see, it's valid HTML. It works. It's neat. It's wonderful. And that takes me to the next thing, which is the next lecture.